Hi everyone, welcome back to TGMC, Diwan-e-Ghalib, Meri Subani. To all our returning viewers, we are very happy you could join us again. And to the new viewers, we are delighted you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in for the first time. Now, before I get into the episode, once again, dear viewers, want to let you know the throat still acts up, lozenges in the mouth, and a very big cup of coffee, extra hot. So, आज तो या तो गला जल जाएगा या गला बोलेगा. But if those coughing bouts come, please excuse it. I apologize in advance for them. All right. So if you were with me in the previous episode, you know that currently we are going through Ghazal 35 from Diwan-e-Ghalib. वो मेरी चीन-ए-जबीं से Gham-e-Pinhaan समझा. We have already covered 4 couplets. Today we are going to pick up the 5th couplet. As always, I'm going to read the couplet first, and then we are going to get into the approximate translation, keywords, key concepts, and then finally the TGMZ impression of the couplet. So, allow me to read couplet 5 from Ghazal 35 from Diwan-e-Ghalib. इससे अपने ये जाना, इससे अपने ये जाना कि वो बदखू होगा. इससे अपने ये जाना कि वो बदखू होगा. नब्ज-ए-खस से तपिश-ए-शोला-ए-सोज़ां समझा. Let's do a quick translation. First line. इससे अपने ये जाना कि वो बदखू होगा. Through my own humbleness and humility, I received the clue to her hot temperament. Second line. नब्ज-ए-खस से तपिश-ए-शोला-ए-सोज़ां समझा. The pulse of the straw helped me understand the heat of the burning flame. So that is the approximate translation. Let's start picking up our keywords. First word, ids. Ids translates to weakness, helpless, humbleness, humility. इस पे शकील बदायूं का शेर, one of our favorites here at DGMZ. रखी हुई है संगे दरे यार पर जबीं, इस इद्स पर गुरूर किए जा रहा हूं मैं. The approximate translation is, my forehead is bent and resting on the threshold of the beloved. And in this humble act of mine, I'm feeling so proud. Just beautifully written. वो इड्स पे गरूर, fantastic. The khayal is just amazing. Moving on to the next word, Bad-Khu. So bad is a prefix. You can put it in front of any word and the word will get a negative connotation. So bad is bad, evil, corrupt, mischievous, unlucky, right? Wrong. Sorry. And khu is any kind of habit, any kind of manner, temperament, behavior, right? So when you couple them together, Bad-Khu becomes bad temperament, bad manners, and bad disposition, right? इस पे मेशर आफरीदी का शेर, अब बताओ निभा पाओगी, बद ज़बान हूँ मैं और बदखू भी. Yes, $1 million question indeed. The approximate translation is, Now tell me. In fact, I should say, now tell me. Will you be able to stay put? Will you be able to see this partnership to the end? Because I am bad. I have a bad mouth and I have a bad temperament. So decide, will you be able to bear it and stay on with me? All right, moving on to the next word complex, Nabz-e-Khas. Nabz is pulse, Khas is straw or dry grass, or as we call it, hay. इस पर सैयद आबिद अली आबिद का शेर, दामने कोसार से ठंडी हवा आने लगी, नब्ज़-ए-खस में जिंदगी का खून दौड़ाने लगी. So the approximate translation is, from the hems of the mountains, the cold breeze started to sweep in, and in the veins, in the pulse of the straws, it started running like blood itself, blood of life itself. All right, moving on to Tapish-e-Sholaa-e-Sozaan, another complex, word complex. Tapish is the heat, the warmth, or the heat of something. Shola is a flame, and Soza is the burning. It is both used as a physical description and as a metaphorical description for burning of emotions, burning passion, burning love. इस पे मीर तकी मीर का शेर, बर्क ओ शरार ओ शोला ओ परवाना सब हैं ये. That's a long list. बर्क ओ शरार ओ शोला ओ परवाना सब हैं ये, जो हम जला करे हैं भला जलते कब हैं ये. Lovely couplet, beautiful Mir craftsmanship at display. The approximate translation is lightning, flame, spark, the moth that is attracted to the candle. They claim to be everything. They are everything, all these fiery things. But the way we burn, and when they say we, by extension lover, the way we burn, when do they ever burn like that? And प्यारी बात यह कि इसमें से शमा हटा दी गई है. शमा नहीं है शेर में. Shama could hold a candle to any burning. But anyway, so that takes care of Tapish-e-Sholaa-e-Sozaan. And that takes care of all the keywords. Let's start getting into our couplet. First line, इजसे अपने ये जाना कि वो बदखू होगा. Through my own humbleness and humility, I received the clue to her hot, bad temperament. Its is a keyword in this first line, and it is very important, at least the way DGMC created their impression, to understand which of the meanings of its will apply here. So let me give you a brief context into this word. Ids is an Arabic word, but also used in Persian and Urdu language. It is used to describe a state of helplessness, powerlessness, or weakness. That is its primary usage. But it is also used to describe a state of humility, humbleness, modesty, and submission. It works very well with a similar word called inkisar, and we'll get into that a little. Basically, it is a noun indicating the inability to do something, or a very submissive, docile, humble, demeanor. Some of the common phrases you would hear with ids in it is ids-o-inkisar, humility, submission and modesty. Ids karna, to show humility, request humbly or act politely. Nigah-e-ids, a look or glance of modesty. In poetry and literature, ids is either used to detail and describe a person's weakness, or it is used to describe a person's humbleness, their humility. Of all the meanings of ids, the one which passed the DGMZ test for this couplet was humility and humbleness. Because humility and humbleness in a lover matches the usual typical demeanor of the lover in Urdu poetry, who will usually adopt a very tolerant, a very humble stance towards the beloved. हकी हजीन का ये शेर, वो तो माइले बनुमाइश थे मगर उनके हुजूर आज तक उठ ना सका दीदा-ए-हैरान मेरा. Lovely couplet. The approximate translation is they always had a leaning, always had a fascination, always had a tendency of creating a spectacle. But in their presence, never till today has these astonished, amazed eyes of mine ever been able to lift themselves up and look at her directly. And we just covered Didaa-e-Hairaan in this, I think in this Ghazal only, correct? Last couplet. Last couplet we covered Didaa-e-Hairaan, right? But this couplet says, such is the humbleness, such is the politeness, such is the humility of me, that though she would love it, because she's a fan of spectacles, I just can never, till today, raise my eyes of wonderment, amazement, astonishment for her. Can never raise those eyes up and look at her directly. All right, that takes care of ids. Moving on to Bad-Khu. Bad-Khu again is a Persian word complex and is used both in Urdu and Farsi. It translates to someone who has bad habits, bad temper, bad manners, even as intense as evil disposition. Bad-Khu person usually will have these typical characteristics. They will be impolite, they will be discourteous, they will have a very poor, rude behavior, right? There are other word phrases like Bad-Khu, Kue-Bad, habit of badness, Bad-Khulq, impolite or ill-mannered, Bad-Khaslat, somebody with bad habits, bad disposition. This is a concept which has a lot of word complexes, and in Urdu poetry many times Bad-Khu is used to describe the beloved. हसरत मोहानी का ये शेर, हसरत मोहानी का ये शेर, समझता ही नहीं है कुछ वो बदखू, न खुद मुझको न मेरी आरज़ू को. The approximate translation is that bad-tempered, ill-mannered person does not understand a thing. Neither do they understand me, nor do they understand my desires. And of course, the person referred to is the beloved. Ghalib, in this first line, uses both the keywords ids and Bad-Khu to draw the contrast between the temperaments of the lover and the beloved. Beautifully done. A lover comes to the table to offer, not to demand. And not just offer, but offer with complete humility and humbleness. For the lover, it is a privilege and honor if the beloved accepts his offer. In this line, Ghalib makes an interesting statement when he says that by identifying his humbleness and humility as a lover, he was able to identify the beloved's impolite and ill-mannered behavior. A normal person would ask, shouldn't it be the other way round? Shouldn't beloved's impolite and ill-mannered behavior give a clue to the lover's humbleness and humility? Because, after all, beloved's impolite and ill-mannered behavior is the action to which lover's humbleness and humility is the reaction. But Ghalib flips the script in the first line. He goes on to say that it is the other way round. At least that's how it comes to us. That's how it comes through to us. It is the lover's humbleness and humility that helps identify beloved's impolite and ill-mannered behavior. Somehow it seems that Ghalib has a hidden question in this first line. A question that asks, would the beloved ever be able to be so impolite, so ill-mannered, if the lover's humbleness and humility did not exist? If the lover's humbleness and humility does not allow it? If the lover's humbleness and humility does not accept it? And the answer to this hidden question is no. No. Ghalib, in his unsaid way, almost states that the fact of the matter is, because the lover shows such humbleness, such humility towards the beloved, she is able to indulge in her impolite and ill-mannered behavior. This is what makes it possible for these two to exist in this unrequited love dynamic. मकमूर दहलवी का ये शेर, गरूर हुस्न उन्हें इंकिसार शिवाए इश्क, वो बेनियाज रहे हम नियाजमंद रहे. The approximate translation is, she had extreme pride in her beauty. I had the humility of the habit of love. So, throughout her life, she remained somebody who wanted nothing from me, needed nothing from me, and throughout my life, I remained something who always wanted something from her, always needed her, always wanted her. Usually, the lover in unrequited love with the beloved exists far away from her, with no connection between them. And while the lover sits in his corner of the world, far, far away from her, Ghalib says he can still assess, he can still identify her temperament. And how does he do that? By assessing his own temperament. इससे अपने ये जाना कि वो बदखू होगा. In this scenario, probably the beloved has not even been ill-mannered to the lover yet in real. But the lover, sitting far away from her, can still assess that basis my own temperament of ids, I can guess that she is going to be Bad-Khu. The clue to her lies within him. यही बात हो रही है ना इस शेर में, इस लाइन में. The clue to her lies within him. Now that statement has both a very rare intimacy to it and wisdom. Ghalib here once again, true to his style, highlights something rare, something not written or talked about a lot. Ghalib states, how I plan to behave with her decides how she will behave with me. My temperament towards her decides her temperament towards me. What she will be to me is going to be decided by what I will be to her. इससे अपने ये जाना कि वो बद-खू होगा. My own temperament of humbleness and humility made me realize, made me identify, gave me a clue that she at that end will be ill-mannered, bad-tempered. And in this scenario, if the lover stays true to his essence of giving it all, the beloved will stay true to her essence of taking it all. Now, this is the way the first line came through to us, right? But this is a Ghalib couplet. There are different ways to interpret it. One of the ways would be that because I was weak, because I was powerless, and we will, for that impression, take the other meaning of its weakness, powerlessness, right? Because I was weak, because I was powerless, because I could not face her, that is why she dominated me with her bad temper, bad temperament. So, that is another way to look at it, but this is the way it came through to us. Let's move on to the second line. Nabz-e-Khas se Tapish-e-Sholaa-e-Sozaan samjhaa. The pulse of straw helped me understand the heat of the burning flame, of the burning fire. Now, nabz in the second line is a critical word. But in addition, nabz, which is pulse, is also a critical concept. All medical students are taught that the examination of the pulse is important and basic to medicine. Doctors in antiquity palpated the pulse, noting its rate, regularity, and volume. Modern doctors do the same. A quote from a famous Roman philosopher: "The physician cannot prescribe by letter. He must feel the pulse." Now this is Western medicine. In Ayurveda, there is a concept called Nadi Pariksha. It is the term used to describe a trained Ayurvedic doctor's deep pulse check. It is done both with gentle touch and deep focus. The Ayurvedic doctor uses 3 fingers on your wrist to feel the pulse. Each finger reads different doshas: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. The rhythm, speed, and strength of the pulse shows what is healthy and what is not. This Nadi Pariksha can find even hidden imbalances that are usually not caught by other tests. The history of Nadi Pariksha goes back thousands of years, and it is called one of the top ancient Ayurvedic diagnosis techniques. In the old days, saints and Vaidyas used Ayurvedic Nadi reading to check health without any machines. They trained for years and years to master this art. This deep knowledge was then passed on from the teacher to the student. Even today, many Ayurvedic doctors study pulse reading as their main subject. And then finally, in Islamic medicine, of all the traditional diagnostic methods, none is more fabled and legendary than pulse diagnosis. Arab Islamic physicians were celebrated pulse diagnosticians. Ibn Sina, well known in the West, wrote a textbook called the Canon of Medicine, a medical encyclopedia which summarized Greek, Indian, and Muslim medical discoveries. His book was used as a standard medical textbook through to the 18th century in Europe. Besides their many contributions to medicine, people like Ibn Sina are considered giants in pulse examination, also known as pulsology. We thought that context was necessary to enjoy this second line. And while we go through the impression of the second line, hopefully you will also feel the same. Ghalib in the second line talks about the pulse of the straw, or as we call it, blade of dry grass, blade of dry hay. Usually, in Urdu poetry, the phrase khaso-khashak translates to sticks, dried leaves, straw, trash, rubbish, or anything which is insignificant, worthless, that should be burnt up because it is waste, it has no use. Khaso-khashak. And from that, in today's couplet, we are using the word khas. Let's move on to the second concept in the second line, soza. Again, a Persian word meaning burning, a flame, torched, scorching, blazing. It is derived from the Persian word sokta and is frequently used to describe intense heat, fire, or metaphorically passionate burning emotions. Phrases like Aatish-e-Sozaan means a very wildly burning fire. Garma-e-Sozaan, boiling or scorching heat. Ishq-e-Sozaan, burning or passionate love. And finally, Dil-e-Sozaan, burning heart. So Soza is extreme burning, furious burning, either physically or metaphorically. Ghalib in the second line, almost to us, sounds like those Arab Islamic physicians who were celebrated pulse diagnosticians. Ghalib says, by reading the pulse of the straw, I can diagnose, I can assess, I can understand Tapish-e-Sholaa-e-Sozaan. By extension, Ghalib says, I do not need to see the fire burning, one single straw that is part of that fire. By the pulse of that straw, I can assess, I can read how furiously the fire is burning. Isn't that exactly what an expert physician does? By reading the pulse of the patient, the physician will assess the severity of his fever, or for that matter, any other sickness that the patient is suffering from. The physician trusts the pulse. More importantly, the physician understands the pulse. There is a wisdom required. Everybody cannot read the pulse. Everybody cannot understand what the pulse is telling. Only a trained physician can understand what the pulse is telling. For the rest of us, it is just tuk tuk, tuk tuk, tuk tuk. Right? An expert physician trusts his reading of the pulse to assess sickness and its specifics. Similarly, Ghalib says, I can assess the heated fury of the fire, the extent of the fire, the warmth, heat of that fire by reading the pulse of the straw that is burning in the fire. So, that takes care of Nabz-e-Khas se Tapish-e-Sholaa-e-Sozaan Samjhaa. Of that big, huge fire that is burning, I just went and read the pulse of the straw. And I got the whole picture. I got the whole clear picture of that fire. Alright, that takes care of the second line. Now, as always, let's take a few minutes to have coffee. Now, as always, let's take a few minutes to step back and look at the couplet in totality. It's an interesting couplet where we see Ghalib draw a parallelism in both lines, highlighting his ability, his wisdom to see the unseen, to know the unknown. In the first line, we see Ghalib identifying and assessing the hot, bad temperament of the beloved by identifying and assessing his own humbleness and humility as a lover. Like we said, in all probability, the beloved has not yet been ill-mannered or bad-tempered with Ghalib. This assessment is not based on the beloved's action. This assessment is based on the lover's reaction. He is using his own nature, his own temperament, his own mood, his own personality to assess how the beloved will be. And therein lies the wisdom, right? She can be this only if I am this. Otherwise she cannot. अब दोनों बदखू हो जाए तो ये डायनामिक ही नहीं रहेगा. So she can only be Bad-Khu because I am full of its. I am humble. I have humility. In the second line, once again, we see Ghalib identifying and assessing the fury of the burning fire by reading the pulse of the straw that is burning in the fire. Ghalib is not seeing how high the fire is, how hot the flames are. No. Give me that one fragile, id se bhara straw. And मैं उसकी नब्स, उसकी नाड़ी पढ़ूंगा and I will judge कि फायर किस लेवल पे जल रही है. क्योंकि उसकी नाड़ी डिसाइड करती है फायर कितना जलेगी. फायर नहीं डिसाइड करती है, स्ट्रॉ डिसाइड करता है. And once you have read both the lines, you of course start to appreciate the parallelism in both the lines. पहली लाइन में you have the humble lover. In the first line, the humble lover draws a parallelism to the pulse of the straw in second line. And the ill-tempered, right, bad-mannered beloved of the first line draws a parallel to the roaring, furious fire in the second line. In both scenarios, the thing that is humble, the thing that is fragile, will be engulfed by the hot and the furious thing. But, in DGMZ's humble opinion, the question planted in her head by Ghalib is, would hot and furious be able to do that had not the humble and fragile allowed it to happen? Would the beloved be able to indulge in her bad temperament had not the lover accepted it with humbleness and humility? Would the fire be able to get hot and furious had the straw not allowed it to run through its veins? It's a very interesting couplet. It has a very straightforward meaning, where lover is weak, beloved will dominate him, straw is fragile, fire will burn it. But it's a Ghalib couplet. It cannot be that simple. The thing that caught our attention was Jaana, right? And we thought that we should give credit to that word. Jaana in the first line, Samjhaa in the second line. He's assessing, he's understanding, he's identifying, he's getting a clue. And that kind of took us on our journey of the impression. As always, let us know in the comments, did this resonate with you? Do you think there is merit in this interpretation? If not, let us know what you thought of the couplet. How did you understand the couplet? Like you know, we are always very keen to hear from you, read your comments. And like I said, we are fans of Ghalib. We love multiple interpretations. If there is another one out there, please share it with us. Now, for all the new viewers who joined us today, a strong recommendation to access the episode called Introduction to DGMZ, because that will give you a good insight into the motivation and inspiration behind this podcast. For our regular viewers, whenever you have time, please go to the homepage of the channel. We have playlists segregated by topics, segregated by ghazals. Surf through them, pick an episode that interests you. If you have not joined us on the Facebook page, we would encourage you to join us there. We post DGMZ Share of the Day with English translation, both on Facebook and on YouTube community post. If you don't check either, please do. You will enjoy those couplets. Now, on the screen, you will see instructions on how to access this episode in any language other than English. As we all know, English is the primary language for DGMZ episodes, but if you want to access these episodes in any other language, follow the settings that we have put on the screen, change the language, and YouTube will translate the entire episode for you in that language and give it to you as subtitles. Alright, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Allow me to send a lot of love and light to all you dear viewers, and thanks for watching. And thanks for bearing with my cough. I appreciate it.